All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining. Jared Napolitano here, JNAP. I'm going to be streaming episode 6 of my That Time I series right now. I'm also... Oh, wait, 1 minute. Got some... there we go. Turn on the mute there. So at the beginning of this, I want to talk a little bit about the volunteer award that I got a couple nights ago on Hollow Theater. But then the bulk of the episode will be talking about this really fun competitive online championship series game from July of 2020 against none other than All Stars 97, Justin Desai. One of the best players in the game, definitely on a short list of, I'd say 3 to 5 of the best players ever. You probably start that list with anyone who's won 2 or more world championships and go from there. And then probably need some arguments to get people on or off of that top 5 list. But point being, it was a pretty competitive game, and it was really interesting. So that will be fun to go over. But I definitely want to start talking. I want to thank the PC, the advocates, everyone who was involved in giving this awesome thing to me. This is a volunteer award, and it says, volunteer award presented to Jared Napolitano for his passion and his tireless dedication to the SWCCG community. So I was really flattered, really honored to get this. And I just have a few things I want to say, and I hope this doesn't turn into I don't want it to be like an acceptance speech. I want this to be more like a stump speech to encourage future people to do what I did and volunteer and step up and contribute to the community, and go from there. So, about a year ago this time I was just watching the Indoor Grand Prix on Twitch, and I remember I actually won a giveaway for a free OCS pass, which was pretty neat. But point being, up until that point, I didn't really have many playing accomplishments. I got second in the NPC 2019 consolation bracket. I'd been playing for about 3 years. I've been playing pretty actively starting at the beginning of 17. About this time last year, I wasn't involved in any official capacity other than about a month into running the Twitter account, which I just kind of I just felt like it was about time for me to step up and start doing things. So I made this, and I'll show this, kind of provocative post to try to get some just eyeballs, not this one. This one, hey, why isn't the Twitter too active? I totally understand that people that have run it before, probably just over time just get burned out or have other priorities pop up. But I kind of saw it as an opportunity for me to own something. Started doing that in early 2020, and then just kind of rode with that. I was just kind of Twitter guy for 2, 3, 4 months, and then I just started doing other things. Kind of branched out to more of social media and YouTube and Twitch and doing these streams, which again, shout out to Jerry Queso for doing that video that enables people like me to kind of set this up pretty quickly and pretty easily. And then just during the course of the year, just did a lot of different things. But as Scott said, I've kind of just tried to help him wherever I can, be a utility guy, help out with the mailing of prizes, and kind of using some of my skills, which is being an accountant. I have a lot of very organizational, orderly type things that I felt like I could apply to a lot of the things that the PC was doing. So I reached out to different folks, got in charge of that, and just started running with it. And then I think, of course, of the year I just got more comfortable, and running the Twitter account was a great way to have good visibility to everything that's going on in the community, to kind of be aware of, oh, this is going on, okay, let me plug this. Let me make sure people are aware of this really cool thing that's going on. So just doing that here and there, and jumping in and making sure that people were aware of it. But I just kind of been reflective a little bit in the last couple weeks. Looking back, I had a pretty good year. I qualified for the OCS in February. I was a runner-up for the Gemp UI, and then fortunately it kind of came to a head when I top 8 for Worlds last month. So all in all, but this award really means a lot. This I'll take with me for a long time and always be thinking about it. But I just wanted to encourage others, if there's any new returning players out there, or just people that have been like me at this time last year. You've been around for 2, 3 years. You're kind of familiar with what's going on. You want to kind of view it as an opportunity to step up. Look back what I did in the past year, that I went from barely doing anything in an official capacity to doing lots of things. And this weird year, having flexibility, a lot of people working from home, I was able to kind of take advantage of that to make sure I was taking care of family stuff, taking care of work stuff, but also able to do a lot of this type of stuff as well, and really play a lot of games, but also do a lot of volunteer effort. So let me pull this up. And another really neat opportunity, and I just want to touch on this, is I just in this role. I remember looking back at 1997, 98, 99, 2000 when I was just some 14, 15-year-old kid, hearing about these kind of like superstars of the game, like the Bastian Winklehouses, the Hayes Hunters, the Matt Sokols, and Johnny Chews, and Eric Hunters. And it's just been really neat just over time. And again, this is just a plug that how great this community is and how neat people are, and that you can just engage with them and they share tips with you. This screen I have up because I'll never forget when I just cranked this out and I was like, oh, Chris Kelly's taking care of this forever. Let me kind of step up and give this a fresh update. I'm interested in foils. And I remember Hayes reached out to me and I was just like, hey man, good job, but you might want to give this a little more professional feel. So these little boxes here seem kind of simple, but that was frankly one of the first times I ever spoke with Hayes. And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. This guy's pretty famous in the Star Wars CCG community. So that's why I have this up. And then, I had this, this is a capture from, let me zoom in a little bit, old Decipher ratings. And, a lot of people on this list who, me in 2001 me, it's like, I'm never going to meet these people. I'm not going to get on a plane to travel. I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm just too young and all the money. But, people like Johnny Chew, and I know Matt Sokol's on this list, world champion of 2000. Like, I went into their fantasy baseball league a couple years ago. And then this year as well. And I'm, talking trades, fantasy baseball trades with Johnny Chew. And I'm like, this is so cool that him and Matt Sokol has just been a great guy. I've talked with him a lot and played a lot of games with him. So that was just really neat being able to, make those connections. And, people like Eric Hunter who, I'm friends with him on LinkedIn, and we, had that Final Four matchup last year in 2019 NPC. And I remember hearing about Eric when I was, 2000, 2001. I'm like this like prodigy player who's only like 12, 13, 14 years old and just dominating in a major circuit. So, and of course, Bastian, obviously hearing about him, he's on this list right here at number 9. I was able to do some playtesting games with him right before Worlds, and he asked me what I was playing the night before, and I told him Ancient Watering Hole, and I think he really liked that. And in retrospect, I was one of only 10 QMC decks on day 1 that played Ancient Watering Hole. So I know he has that really neat Prophet Ancient Watering Hole deck, and so I think that got me on his good side. And it was just really neat throughout the course of Worlds, day 1, 2, 3. Bastian shooting me, Slack DM saying, "Hey, great job, keep it up," and that really meant a lot. Just seeing a guy like him. But another guys on this list, we got our Mr. Paul Myers 19 again. This is September of 2001. Eric's on here at 26. This is the overall Decipher rankings for the world, and people like Brian Fred 41. I've really had a great time talking and making trades and just talking shop with B. Fred. He's such a great guy. But point being is this volunteer opportunity that I had enabled me to kind of step up, meet people, see all the great things that the community does, all the great things within, all the great folks around here. And it was just really neat. So, and now looking back, this just is such a special game. Here's Matt Sokol down here. And, people like, Shaw. He said it himself. I wouldn't say this, but he said back in the day, like, oh yeah, I remember seeing you at tournaments. Like, you were really good. And I remember we carpooled to a tournament one time, and he'd always talk in some of those tournament reports on the Deck Tech archives that Steve Skelton pulled up. But he'd talk about how he'd go to tournaments with his scrub friends, and one of those scrub friends is one of my favorite people, Taco Bill. But it was just kind of neat being like, wow, like I remember when Greg Shaw, I was better than Greg Shaw at one point. It has not been like that for 20 years now. Although I did get the best of him last night in a close game. But yeah, so point being, great community, and being a volunteer enables you to step up, talk to people, put your mark. And this is just a right time for the game right now where, Star Wars is so mainstream. There's so many great things going on. And one thing I think about a lot now is, watching The Mandalorian, not to spoil anything, but there's a scene where there's like very prominent, female characters. And, you look back in the late 90s, like it was much more nerdy or niche to be involved in Star Wars. But nowadays it's much cooler. There's women, it's much more diverse cast and crew and topics, and it's just really cool nowadays that I have a 2.5-year-old daughter that she can watch Star Wars when she's 5, 6 years old and look at Rey and look at Sabine Wren and Ahsoka Tano and all these cool characters. So, point being, we're in a very good time right now to capitalize on a lot of the cool stuff that's going on in the Star Wars world. And, hopefully some of you guys tuned in yesterday. There was a stream from twitch.tv/Team Covenant. And Team Covenant did a box breaking for Premiere, and they play basically a sealed game. And Casey on the marketing team and he was on the YouTube channel. I was just on myself as Twitch, and it was a cross-functional stream. And there was 45 people on Twitch watching. He said there was 188 people on YouTube watching, and there was also, I think it was on Facebook Live too. So we're talking probably at least like 250, maybe 300 people. And the chat was just filled of, I love this game, I miss this game, this stuff's so cool. And Casey and I just tried to plug here and there, like, hey, the game's still going on, people can play online. The game's, there's virtual cards, it's much easier to play nowadays. And again, it's just a great time right now for the game. So if you're out there, if you're a new returning player watching this, or if you're even just a player who's been around forever, or if you're a player who's just kind of been playing but not really volunteering, go to starwarsccg.org/volunteer. I drafted this blurb several months ago to just be like, hey, here's a bunch of things that we do, a bunch of places we could use help. So if any of these things kind of match your skill set, match your interest, reach out to Scott here at the top, and he'll find a way to deploy you to the best team so you can start contributing as soon as possible. And then, so one more item I want to get into, maybe two. Excuse me. Some of you guys might remember this article from 2.5 years ago. It was on the Ringer. Ringer's a pretty popular website. It's written by Ben Lindbergh, who is a huge baseball writer and also a big Star Wars fan. So a lot of his content on here. So this came out in like May, right before Solo dropped, actually. It was a great item for our game. Went into like the NPC. He came to the tournament. I remember I was it's like a fanboy because I would read all his articles, listen to the Effectively Wild podcast. He had interviews with like Scott and Gogolin and Gurgle. I remember he was talking to about the rules. And at this point, this is 2.5 years ago. Even Gemp wasn't anywhere near what it is now, and all the cool features and just the amount of people playing and types of formats. But one thing that stuck out, and I recommend everyone read this. I'll probably put the link in the YouTube notes. But you can just Google the Ringer and subculture is probably the quickest way to have it come up. But something that stuck with me in the middle of this page, and as a pulled quote from Scott. And again, in kind of this stump speech of really encouraging everyone to step up, volunteer where you can. If you have flexibility, if you have some time, no amount is too little or too much to jump in. But this jumps out to me, and this was something, literally, if the volunteers stop doing things, this game dies. And that's from Scott, and he's the lead advocate. And that's just so true, because you look around and you see all these people doing all these different things for the PC. And sometimes it's a little vague of who's doing what. And side note, I'm kind of working on an organizational chart to try to bring some more just transparency to help people in this vein of, I want to volunteer, I don't know who to talk to. But this quote is just really important because we are a volunteer-run organization. People are running tournaments, people are signing cards, people are moderating the forums. There's just so many different places where people can kind of jump up and find a spot. So I'll just kind of emphasize that. And obviously, Scott, can't say enough words about Scott and what he's meant to this game and how important he's been to keeping this game alive now, the PC for 19 years, and the game as a whole now in our 25th year. So with that, I will stop blabbing and just, again, encourage everyone to, figure out if you have some time and if you have some skills or interests, feel free to reach out and we'll get you a good spot to be. So let me switch now. So now we'll start the game. Give a little background at the beginning. Again, this is on the new UI. Which has been a really neat. Here, let me shrink me down so I'm not taking up too much space on the screen. The corner here. So this is new UI. This is a game from July 7th, 2020. I played against Justin. I was light. He was dark. I actually ended up playing a game. The next game I played was against him as well. But we'll get this started. This was a game that went about 11 turns, and there was a lot of back and forth. It ended up being really close. I guess I'll spoil it. I did not win. But there's a lot of decision. I just try to watch these replays just to make sure nothing breaks. Rewatching it, I made some mistakes that I learned from, and I'll call out Paul Myers because I think he's one of the best people at this in terms of he always wants to play against really good players, and that's how you learn the best. And coming away from this game, I learned like 5 things that I know not to do next time. And so I was playing as No Idea here. The objective based around Rogue One. He was playing as ISB operations with his centered around centered around the free Executor to best him. Yeah, so this, nowadays, this is a grindy matchup, because both sides are able to retrieve a lot, both sides can kind of doom stack certain locations, but it gets interesting. So, and I could speed this up a little bit, make it go 2x, because, where there's some times where, especially in the early part here, where we're just doing setup, but, so this is July, this is, what is that, 6-7 months ago, a lot of changes have happened to No Idea, handful to ISB, so we'll see a couple cards that have been blanked, and some that have been tweaked, like even this start you can't do anymore, where you start the square using slip sliding away to get another site out. This square is just such a powerful site that it allows all Imperials to deploy -1 when a Moth is there, and with the combination of Moff Gideon coming out to give Darkseid another Moth besides, Grand Moff Tarkin or Moff Jerjerrod, but Grand Moff Tarkin doesn't really get play in ISB because Tarkin V, the other version, is much better, because he's actually an ISB agent and he can cancel Destiny. And you want to play Grand Moff Tarkin Virtual as good as he is over him. So we're just getting set up. So he has mobilization points. He pulls the Executor. A lot of times, if back when Throne Room, before Throne Room was more popular, the first action would be to pull that "Don't Do That Again" shield, which suspends mobilization points until Darkseid occupies a battleground system. So yeah, but with no Throne Room, Darkseid's going first. Darkseid gets that action, so it would be kind of pointless for me to pull that shield and use that shield before I may need it to suspend the activation angle. And actually, I don't think I ever do pull it. Maybe I probably should, in retrospect. So hopefully everyone can hear and see the stream. Okay, let me know if the audio or anything or video needs some help. Looks like I'm a little off-centered if I'm just looking at the Twitch, but maybe that's just my screen. So again, we just have a quick revert. Now looks like it's, yeah, let me move this over. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, actually, wow, I'm really far to the left. Good thing I caught this now and not like all the way in. So the title, obviously, of this is, Tarn used as a verb. So Lieutenant Tarn Myson is a rebel pilot who, when he fires a weapon, reduces the forfeit of all characters aboard to 0. So he's a guy who I didn't really hear about until, or just as I've heard about him, but talking with just Eric Hunter and Taco Bill over time, I think those are the two guys most responsible for me really liking Tarn Myson and viewing him as a doomstack cure. Because this was a time where a lot of decks would just, especially dark decks, just load up a Star Destroyer, or load up or a space, I guess, obviously, he's only going to work in space. And to cut through that is really hard when ISB has these guys, big time forfeits. They're cheap, they can get retrieved. To really win space or really be able to hold your own space as light side, I felt he was one of the better options to do that. So I have my opening hand here. I have Rey, who's really good. I have a couple ships. I have a way to get to Hujix, which is really important because around this time, ISB can get a lot of guys out really cheap, and they can cause a lot of battle damage. And if light side doesn't have a Hujix or doesn't have some type of evasion, cancel the battle and get out of it, they're in big trouble. So I get Lieutenant Rushkat Melshi, also Corporal Midge is the underlying card, and he pulls another trooper. So I get Taidu Sifia, who's really good in that he prevents Nivar Yalnal from killing your guys, and he can do some other fun things too. These decks are obviously similar, where there's a lot of like scrub characters, a lot of guys who are cheap who can be deployed, and you also can retrieve them a lot. So again, it's kind of a little bit of a mirror match, and both can have really good space just by virtue of having lots of dudes. Sorry. So yeah, so I get 3 guys out here. I have Saw, who at this point could be downloaded from your reserve deck using the 10-man effect. And he's going to get... So at this point, I should have pulled mobilization points, but maybe not. I kind of figure he's activating 13. Commander Merzik is not going to stay here too long. He's probably going to move to the Executor, knowing that No Idea has so many spies, so he doesn't want him to be a liability. So here comes the Executor for free, using the effect, they never must leave the city. Super overpowered. No, actually, I don't know about that. Very strong card from Reflection 3. And he's going to put out a bunch of guys this turn. So so he gets this deploy. So he only had one force left, but now watch this. So Admirals deploy -2 from the Admiral's order. Oslo deploys for free. He activates one with a Dark Time. And now he's going to come out with Mr. Wolf Yularen, who's going to be deployed -1 also because he's a pilot. And he's going to be able to activate another 4 or 3? 3 or 4. Yeah, so he activates another 3. He's going to be able to move Merzik there, and he's going to move to Scarif and start putting pressure on there, because this is going to be a drain 2, or I guess 3 with Admiral Chernin, who adds 1. And this text is, it's fortunately -1 unless you have an Imperial on Scarif or a Star Destroyer there. So he pulls Battle Order out. Just up. And now it's my turn. So at this point, too, Stardust was still ping for 2. That has been recently changed. So pretty much every Dark deck around this time had to run Imperial to create Virtual to reduce that. Pull out Hujix using my escape pod, make sure I have that handy. And I'm going to get a ping of 2 through here, actually, because he doesn't have Decree out yet. So again, so this is, just in case anyone hasn't watched any other episode, this is the new universal, or not universal, user interface. It's going to debut, I think, globally or universally pretty soon. We're not sure exact date, but I've been part of the beta testing team, so I've had access to kind of testing this and discovering bugs and letting Eric Lands know, maybe what things to tweak or what things to enhance to make the experience a little bit better. And he's been great about doing that pretty quickly. So there's been a lot of versions that have come through. And I think we're getting close. So, as you guys might have seen in another episode, I can change the background here. We have some pretty cool user art. The animations are cool, a little different than, more exciting than the OG Gemp interface. I'm going to move to the beach here to set up a drain at 2. And ping for 2. He's got, 10 cards in hand. It's kind of nice knowing that Yularen's already out, so I know that he can activate an extra 3 or 4 more than I'm anticipating. I'm going to draw a bunch, pull a shield just to cycle this card. Here may be virtual. It was funny, I was talking to Casey yesterday with watching that unboxing Premiere box, and you see Hear Me Baby, and everyone just kind of assumes, oh yeah, that's a good card, virtual, and then I go, wait, the non-virtual card is actually pretty terrible. But the virtual card pulls a shield and does a bunch of other things. It's good. It's a lot of bullets. So a lot of matchups you won't need those. Like if you're not playing Court, you won't really need it. Or if you're playing Court, you will need it for like hidden weapons, ceasefire. If you're playing against like Hunt Down, they might have I Have You Now. It cancels that. And I Have You Now and ceasefire are lost bullets, or it's a lost interrupt to kill those, and then it cancels hidden weapons you used, and cancels counter assault. It does a lot of good things. Cancels that defensive fire evade, which is a really strong card. So we both have pretty much every location out. That's going to be out for the rest of the game here. He's going to drain, I believe, for... Oh no, he doesn't drain. Yeah. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm in the wrong spot here. This spot, I think I auto scroll on or something. Oh no, he didn't drain. I only have 1 card in my last spot. So I think he'd prefer to get set up here. So this is another turn where he's going to deploy a lot of dudes. So he's got Blizzard 4, but I play Perimeter Scan to prevent him from uploading or downloading a guy. And we're just doom stacking this Executor, but he's going to, reassign a lot of those guys to the beach. And this matchup comes down a lot to who wins the beach. So now he's going to shuttle guys down. I can speed this up too. So this can go 1, 2, or 3x, and we can jump around too. It definitely gets really exciting late, and it's a match that he definitely has the upper hand until I get Menace fades out. So we have a quick revert here. This is with the cool animation of the new UI. At this point, I had qualified in February for the OCS, and Justin qualified, I think it was either March or April. I think it was March. And him and Eric qualified that month, and Paul Myers just missed out on SOS. I think I went over that month in detail during the year-end stream, the 2020 year-end stream, which is on YouTube. Check that out if you're interested in just kind of what happened last year. Obviously, a pretty wild, unprecedented year in a lot of ways. So he now puts 5 guys in a vehicle down to the beach. He's got plenty of power, immunity at the system. I have 14 cards in my hand. The combo of Tarn'ed, obviously the title of this stream. But you have to pair him up with concussion missiles, Rogue One, which you can go on a transport the concussion missiles. In this version, I play 2 concussion missiles. He's definitely in, like I said at the beginning, I think a niche move, Tarn, in order to remove some pretty strong space. So the key is getting all the pieces together, like the missiles and the ship, and having him pilot it, and also I learned a lot of times you obviously don't want him to be just kind of parked somewhere, because then Darkseid can play around it. It's better to use him as an offensive weapon, which then you have to account for. Hopefully he doesn't get barriered, and then the Darkseid might just run away. And as long as they can stay in space, the key with Tarn is you can obliterate them from space, or cause some big blowout by a lot of overflow, because all the characters lose their forfeit. So I put Rey and Luke V at Bespin. Figure I satisfy battle plan. I'm going to run away at the beach here. As not at this point in battle or a war, I'm going to win. Put it that way with the beach. I'm just going back and forth. He has too much forfeit. I need more, more force or more guys to get out to have more of a chance. So now I'm staring at a drain of 3 and 3. Chirinu adds 1 to the system, and then the beach, because his objective is flipped, he gets a +1. So this is going to be a and this obviously made sense. So obviously Justin, one of the best players ever. To me, I was like, oh wow, he's not paying to drain for 3 at Scarif. But it was more important for him to get set up here, get all these guys out, be a credible threat on the ground. So now this turn, he's in much better shape to get these 2 drains of 3 through. So I play Rescue. In this matchup, Rescue has some Rescue in the Crowds, has some value to cancel Gravity Shadow. I don't think I ever saw that in this matchup. But yes, I'm going to lose General Kraken and Projection of Skywalker, which would be a helpful card in this matchup. I lose Baze, who's really good. And now he's going to drain for 3 at the system. I lose Henry Baby. And we're at turn 4. This game goes 11 or 12 deep, so this is definitely going to be on the longer side, especially because I had my little spiel at the beginning about volunteering and my year and being able to step up. So he puts, this is a rare mistake you'll see from Justin, because Saw is here. So Saw prevents, and he still does this even though he's been taken down a notch. He prevents Darkseid from, opponent may not reduce your force drains here. So the objective, which normally would reduce it, force drain -1 from ISB, that's not impacting here, and neither is Image of the Dark Lord V, which is a good card, because on planet sites it's like Projection on Skywalker, in case you're not familiar with it. And even a little better if you have Vader out, it's a -2. So this drain he was looking to, and actually I wonder why he did that, because he already has ISB flipped, so this is going to be a drain of 1, or a drain of 0 with ISB. If he was understanding that Saw can't modify it, and he wanted to, Yeah, you guys see what I'm saying? So he's getting the -1 from the objective, getting -1 from image, but either way, Saul prevents both of those from happening. So he moves Executor over. He's going to challenge. At one point, I'm not sure if he's gotten it yet, but he gets it verified and he sees Tarn. And I actually played a few games before this against Paul Myers, who had a great year, great player. He was playing as IE, pretty sure it was Imperial Entanglements. He gets it verified, and I think he said something like, "Oh, look at you," and I think Desai was like, "Oh, this." So it's once you got the cat's out of the bag. Darkseid can probably play a little differently. One card I really like in this matchup for No Idea, which has some synergy because, yeah, it's great that you're including Tarn. Do you want to include 2 Tarn? Do you want to dedicate more cards to finding it, because then it's just going to dilute your deck? But Antilles Maneuver, Virtual, works well in pulling out from your reserve deck on the opponent's turn pilots. So that's a way to find him. It's a Destiny 5 card. It does another thing with weapons that's good. It forces Darkseid to pay +1. So it's just a good card that it's not, it helps you get Tarn out. That's not its sole purpose. It has a good range of stuff it can do. It can pull at any pilot. It can pull like Torn Far, who's really strong. So that's where it's not like an extra card per se. Really the extra cards for the Tarn package are, the weapon, and sometimes 2, himself, and maybe an extra card or 2 to help find him. But again, No Idea usually plays 2 Ray, which does the use pile pull, which is big. It usually plays anywhere from 1 to 3 Rescue in the Clouds, which can help you find a key card. And so I just put Tarn'ed out. I put Commander Willard out, who's like a 3PO in allowing Lightside to cycle through cards. And I draw my Antilles Maneuver. So now I'm like, all right, I don't have Tarn yet. 15 cards in my hand, but I'm pretty sure I can get him out. He also deploys -1 to Rebel Starships, so even though I only have 1 saved, I'm going to be able to bring him out. And the key thing here is he's out damaging me, so I'm not hitting anything at the system because ISB reduces it. I'm draining for 1 here and pinging for 1 because now he has Decree V out. So that's not good. I'm retrieving 1 with Luke each turn, but he's retrieving 1 with his objective. So it's my 2 damage to his 5 right now. So I'm in the beatdown position, I guess, where I need to kind of change the table, force the action, find a key card, because we can't just continue on this trajectory if I want to win. Another thing at this point is I'm not even on 3rd battleground, so I don't have Ultimatum, which would be helpful to cap this drain to 2, save myself a force each turn. So I verify his reserve here, and then I play Ant-Man to get Tarn out. And this is kind of like, again, so ideally you're putting Tarn out on the offensive, but now I'm just parking him. I foil Tarn. I try to foil cards too. If I have fond memories of certain cards, I try to foil them with Gemp Gold. And if you're interested in doing that, check out the operational guide. So if you go in Gemp in the top left, there's a guide. Click on that, and in there's a section about how to foil cards. Chris Goblin made it. It's pretty straightforward. But you basically, the more gold you have, the more, easier it is to foil stuff because they cost money. And that's really, I think, personally the best use of gold right now. Some people have there was a discussion on the Slack channel yesterday. Some people have some pretty hefty stashes. If they just don't care about foils or don't like foils, like I know JJD hates them. They don't have much purpose for you. But at some point, hopefully new features come out. I know mentioning it might be kind of cool if at some point they release like certain AIs, alternate images, and you could purchase them with your Gemp Gold, just like different purposes. Because right now, that's like the main thing. Or a My Cards League. There's some leagues that are just My Cards, so you can only use cards in that collection. But yeah, if you want some more detail on kind of how to get cards, what they do, how to get gold, check out that guide. And so I'm going to drain for 1 at the data vault. That was interesting. I think I want to rewind, but maybe I'm crazy. I kind of thought that blue circle on the drain of Scarabs at 1. 1 should be 0, but maybe I'm just seeing things. I was only looking quickly. So this is big here where I get Jin out. I retrieved a card with Luke, which is Perimeter Scan V. I'm going to put Jin out, Jin Erso, to block this drain, which is really going to help buy me some time. So again, so this is the type of move that can kind of change the table. You know, obviously ISB has basic deal with undercover spies. Usually it's an ER Yell now from Premiere, or it can be Yasun. I talked about these in the last game too, which was, or no, I talked about these when I streamed a Gemp UC match the other night. So that they both kind of break cover of an undercover spy. But at the very least, okay, I spent full force, so I saved myself 3. I guess 2 now, because I have Cheer It out. He's the, if you guys aren't familiar, I have one with the Force is with me. He's a really good card. And I may or may not do a future episode where kind of forgetting about his game text cost me a game, I think, or got me pretty close. I know Drew Litch had an experience in Texas Mini Worlds, I think, where he forgot it. And it was a huge moment. But he has really good game text. And he allows you to recirculate once per game, and does the peak of the reserve deck for either side. So it can actually be like a way to activate Force or improve your chances of a higher Destiny. Yeah, good card. So I'm just continuing to cycle with Vanded Willard, because as long as Stardust is on my spot, you can do that. I play Rescue, and I find the card I really, really need here in Menace Fades. And that is going to change a lot. So even if he breaks Jin's cover, at least I'm getting rid of the ISB 4-stream bonus. Yeah, so out comes Yasun, who I think is either a comic book character or a Legends character. She was a base set card, and she's really good. She goes in a lot of, obviously she goes in all ISB, she's an ISB leader, she's a spy. You'll see her sometimes in Hunt Down, but she can break cover of an undercover spy. And he comes down with Vader here against Chirrut, which isn't looking good for me because I'm not going to knock off Vader. He's immune less than 6. So he draws a 4, I draw a 5, and that's just going to result in me losing Chirrut. And I wonder here if I make a mistake, so I should be able to retrieve Baze. I think he was like 3rd or 4th card in my lost pile. Let's see. Kind of a cool thing about Gemp, this is probably something that, you know, so I take him, yeah, I go to take him in the hand, and I whiff, and that's probably a misplay because I'm pretty sure he's still in the lost pile, and I have a Force for Secret Planes. I definitely have a few misplays late game. But, you know, sometimes you have a bunch of misplays and you win a game, sometimes you play a really good game and you lose. So that's kind of the beauty of this game, is that there's still a lot of randomness, and even though it's very complex, there's still, you know, a chance if you're a new player. And I'll do a little quick plug here too. Like, I know if you come back to the game, I know some people might think, wow, you know, these people have been playing, other people have been playing this game for 20, 25 years straight, or, you know, way more time than I have. Am I ever going to be able to get competitive? And there is there's enough randomness in this game that, you know, new and returning players can be good players, really good players from time to time. You know, odds are against it. I think my lifetime record against Justin, let's put it this way, in games that have mattered, in games that are clearly, you know, competitive like NPC or OCS, I've beaten him twice. In the OCS, I beat him once in 19 and once this year, which is the next game immediately after this in the timeline. And I definitely lost to him in the OCS probably 5 or 6 times. He swept me in the NPC. And, you know, we've played a bunch of open series games, but those, you know, he's trying stuff out, I'm trying stuff out. There's no jelly beans on the line. But, you know, that's where Gemp is much better equalizer. And I think I said this at one point. Like, if I played Justin Desai 100 times live, in person, he'd probably win like 97, 98, maybe even more. But online, it might be closer to like 85, 90, just because it constricts the player's skill, because you're always aware of what you can do and what you can't. And that's where it is a different game. It's not, I don't know if it's worse or better. It's definitely better for new returning players. But I think it's good. It helps the learning curve, but it's not an apples to apples thing of, you know, a lot of stuff gets missed when you're playing in person. Not only just gameplay lines and things you don't remember, but also every so often you see some like rules things that happen in live events. It's like, wait, someone missed that. So that's where Gemp does prevent that type of stuff from happening most of the time, unless there's a bug. So back to the action here. So now I'm going to invade this square, which can be a liability. That's one of the ways ISB can be beaten. If Lightside can take the site and get trains of 2 or 3 through, usually it's 3, but most of the time ISB will be on 3 battlegrounds. And definitely in this deck where Justin's playing 3 best spin battlegrounds, he could satisfy resistance, but I actually think he might be shield busted here. He might have a cold feet floating around, or one of these might have been pulled via cold feet V. But I don't think it is, because I think I get this drain in maybe once or twice, and he would have definitely pulled resistance, I think. So at this point, he has Firepower out. This card's come up in a couple other streams. It's since been blanked. And same thing with its kind of mirror. That's one of the main points of contention, is that it's not an exact mirror. Weapons Display V, the light side mirror, was not the same. So interesting cards, but they definitely changed the meta a good amount by not being here anymore. Huh, okay, that's interesting. Beluga, yeah, so the Tarn'ed Scarif has been showing as 1. But it's probably saying he doesn't have any force to lose for it. So now we're getting to the point, like, face down I only have 10 cards, I only have 9 in hands, that's 19. He's got 18 plus 6, 24, so he's up, and now he drops OG EPP Maul. And he's going to get a swing, and this is one of the strengths of No Idea, is that it has weapons protection. So I cancel the first Destiny of my objective. He draws a 5, but good old, because of my objective, let me pause here. He went for Leia, because she's defense value +2 because of the 7 side of my objective, so she's 5. Canceled the first, and he draws the second. He goes for her again, and then he goes 5-1, but good old Ensign Chet, the Rebel Trooper who's been virtualized, really good card. So he saves her because he can subtract 1 from a weapon. Now now Justin force pushes out of the battle, just to make sure that Maul doesn't die, because I'm just going to draw Destiny, he's going to die. I'm going to be left with a guy because I played, or no, he's not going to be able to kill them both. So that was a good play, obviously, to make sure he doesn't take a drain of 3, and then he has another chance to kind of, swing on my turn. Now this is where I made a huge mistake. This might have been my biggest mistake, honestly. Just kind of not foreseeing kind of how the game would go. So let me take a real quick thing. So the one time I did beat, in 19 when I beat Justin, it was a hunt down. I was playing hunt down, he was playing throne room. I remember we had some big battle at the battle plains, and I remember he went to attack me. I force pushed out of the battle as a defensive play, and then I think I counter beat him. I think I put down first strike, did some monkey stuff like Sniper Dark Strike or You Are Beaten, something like that. And I had some huge battle, and I'll never forget that. It was the first time I beat him, really. So, force push would be, and some players who are new or returning, you're probably like, why is this force push card so expensive? It's like, it's basically in every dark side deck. It's such a good card. It has 2 huge utilities, and then it can find you a card you need. And doing so activates a card, basically. And it also has this exclude text, which can be used offensively or defensively. Defensively meaning it can kind of save you for another day, or offensively you can kind of hit somebody, and there's like several characters at the location. You hit somebody, you force push your guy out, force push their guy out, and then maybe you have 3 guys left and he only has 1, and then you can really win a battle, call some overflow that way. So just a great card. So here I play All Wings. So I have All Wings report in this deck. When I made this at the time, it's kind of a unique No Idea. Most No Ideas don't have like All Wings report in. They don't usually have Tarn either. But it was a way to spin, because when you play All Wings to substitute your Destiny, it gets around this guy, because he can only cancel drawn Destiny, and when you substitute, that's not technically drawn, so it can't be canceled. So the idea is that you get that 1 Destiny through, and you're making sure that you're at least drawing something. And I'm going to need that ability later in this game, as we'll see. But I'm thinking, hey, I only have 8 cards face down. I need to cycle some stuff. And Justin very smartly grabbed it, kind of knowing, hey, maybe that's the one way he might get through me in space. If you kind of pieces some combos together, and is able to do that. So I just pull weapons display just because I can, not because I'm actually going to be able to retrieve. And speed this up. So I'm playing Banded Willard to cycle some cards. We're at turn 7 now. I'm getting my turn 7. Let's go back up to 3x. So at this point, so I have, excuse me, Menace fades out. He's going to drain me for 2 and 1. I'm going to hit him for 1 with the ping damage, 1 with the Force Drained, retrieve 1 with Luke. He's retrieving with his objective. He's probably ahead right now. He's got 18 and 5 in hand. I have 9 and 9 down. So I need to kind of, again, change kind of the calculus of the game. Maybe calculus is the wrong word, but kind of change the trajectory, we'll say. So I retrieve EPP Luke. I used to always play 1 and 1, but I think more recently I played 2 Luke Skywalker V. So now I come down with Cassian, who has really good text, to be able. I think what did I just do with Lando there? I don't know. Initiate battle, and this is another mistake. I should grab this right here. Like, there's no way I should have grabbed that Imperial Command. I still have a grabber available. That's a one-way, another key way he can kind of beat me in space and survive, or outlast me in space, but that way. If 2 Force saved, like, alright, I want to save 1 to maybe retrieve if I draw a spy because of 10 men, but I don't know what else I could have been fearing at that point. So he's going to swing. I have all these different ways to kind of reduce or cancel Weapon Destiny to survive. He draws, there's a Cold Feet with the swing. Swings at Leia, finally hits, but now I have the Odin Nestle combo to make sure her forfeit is preserved. And, you know, this is a situation too, like talking about Antilles maneuver earlier. If I had it, I could play that and he wouldn't have the force to swing. And that, I mean, may not, it would just mean I wouldn't have to use the Nestler. Odin Nestler and First Aid combo. So I'm going to eliminate Maul here. He's going to kill Leia. I believe, and this is definitely something that me and probably a lot of people would forget in person, but it lights up. Maybe I already, yeah, so this text Banded Willard. You can send an Eldarini into your use pile once a game. So Leia, of course, from Alderaan goes to use pile, and I'll have her in my deck as well. So now this drain of 3 is something that Justin might probably has to deal with, because that kind of switches things. Because again, I'm forcing 1, 2, and then this would be 5, and he's forcing 1, 2, 3. Yeah, did I do that right? Yeah, with fades out. So I'm up 2 a turn. Or 2 a cycle, I should say. So I think I mentioned this in the original post of this stream, but one of the really cool things about the new UI is that you have access. It's very easy to find all of your games in your game history. You can go load up any of them. You can go all the way back years. Not every single one works. I think a couple of the ones that might have been really long ago might not have worked, but they wouldn't work on the normal one either. It's not just a problem with the UI. So it's really one of the reasons I was like, oh, so I can show people this new UI, and I can also kind of analyze and stream some pretty interesting games. Hopefully at some point too, it's really like easy to export. You can export all your games as I play Double Agent to kill off Moff Gideon before he can kind of fight me here. But so I could see pretty easily of like, what's my lifetime record against, Justin Desai? What's it against Gemp UI? And you can slice and dice it by competitive games versus casual games versus the last year versus, you can just do like pivot tables and Excel stuff once you get it in there. And that can be done now. When I say that in the OP, you just have to kind of mess with the code a little bit and maybe do some copy and pasting. But one of the interesting things I saw was, and I mentioned this a bunch, as I found out about this, I am 2 and 30 lifetime against Gemp UI. There's no one else I'm even close to being as lopsided. 2 and 30. And the 2 times I beat him, I remember once I was CCT, he was Watch Your Step. And the other was, I was Tig, I think there's good in him, and I think he was CCT maybe. And you can see all this stuff. Well, back then, deck archetypes are now more recently tracked. So you can, I think started October 1st of 2020, it tracked what decks people used. But yeah, I remember the one game I won against, one of the 2 games I won against him, he just had the worst Destiny draws. He just kept drawing ones. But he's definitely, he owns me. I'm like 2 and 30 lifetime. But it's weird because I also was recently updating the the Majors results spreadsheet and doing the Gemp PC 5 tab. And Tom, this will be his third Gemp PC. In the first two, he lost in the first round. And he qualified for 2 OCS playoffs, but both times he lost the first game and then scooped the second. So I think he's a great, great player. I don't know if he just doesn't like match play, apparently. But 2-30, I couldn't believe that. Well, I shouldn't say that. I wouldn't have been surprised if it was 1. I could absolutely believe it, because I just feel like I was losing. But yeah, so back to the action here. And again, if you're a new returning player and you end up playing against Tom on Gemp, that's his user ID, and you lose a lot, it's because he's really good. So I get Lieutenant Blunt out, who's huge, or Blount, or Blunt. He flips ISB operations back, which is big. I give him a firepower retrieval here, because I deployed a guy, and I didn't battle, and he controls the battleground system in sight. Again, that card doesn't exist anymore. But now this is big, because I have Menace Fades in effect. I have Blount keeping him on his 0 side, and I'm on forcing damage. I'm down to 9 plus 7, which is 16. He's at 13 plus 3, which is 16, and it's his turn, so he's going to do a little bit of damage here. But this is getting close now, and we're at his turn 9. I'm going to keep cycling cards. Stream's at 53 minutes. Hopefully if I can get this in right under an hour. Keep playing perimeter scan just to cycle it. Pull out a bunch of shields here. This is activate phase. So yeah, so he drains. And then this is interesting that it says all stars has requested the action timer be disabled. So yeah, there's a lot of thinking involved at the end here. It's like every one little move can make a difference. And maybe one of his kids is just like, hey, I need you for a minute. But I have a feeling it might have been more so like, let me think about this and make sure nothing gets, I don't mess anything up. And I'm pretty sure the timers got pretty low too. So now I'm thinking to myself, all right, if I can piece together the Tarn package, so I can fire the missiles, reduce all these guys' forfeit, use Green Leader to cancel the immunity, and then he's in big trouble. So in that case, he would definitely have to lose the ship, and he might even take overflow. Oh no, he probably wouldn't take overflow because the Executor still has its 15 forfeit. Yeah. But now I only have 7 cards face down, so I'm like, gotta spend 3 for Gold Leader, I gotta spend 4 for Green Leader. How am I gonna do all that? I can't do all that and draw Destiny for the weapon or for just Battle Destiny in general. So now at this point, I'm pretty sure I realize, oh crap, this is gonna be like kind of a 2-turn thing. And in which case, he's gonna have my Menace Fades turned off. But that's also not a big deal because I have Blount on Coruscant, keeping him flipped. So this is where, again, it's like, all right, I gotta plan out kind of 2 turns at a time. I'm gonna force strand the square. Yeah, he definitely couldn't find his cold feet because he would have pulled resistance a long time ago if he had the extra ship pull. Just keep chipping away with the strain of 1 and the ping of 1 with Stardust. And I think this turn I'm going to put down one or the other between Green Leader and Gold Leader. At this point, I'm kind of thinking to myself, oh, maybe I could pull this out. This is going to be close. If I can kick him out of space, like, it's game over, because then he's just not going to have the force to keep paying for battle plan. And I'm going to kind of keep retrieving with Luke and go from there. So I put out a good old OG drone web from Hoth. Only 1 force because spies deploy -1 to Scarif. This card's been errated twice, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because at this point it had already been errated once. Initially it was Rebel spies deploy -1 everywhere, and that was way too strong. I think No Idea had a really good showing in early 2020. And I think it was errated maybe in March, maybe even earlier. It might have been December of 19. But it just kind of gradually got enough buffs over time. Like, No Idea as an objective was released maybe middle of 18, I think. I remember the Pittsburgh crew delved into that initially, like Reed and Macaroli. And they play a really interesting build. It had like TK422 and Boosh. So we just had a revert. It's his deploy phase. His turn 10. So I got my Green Leader out. I know I got to piece together Gold Leader because Green Leader does not add a Battle Destiny. unless it's with a rebel snub fighter. So I need Gold Leader. And in doing so, I add Battle Destiny, which means I can cancel the immunity. He's going to cancel one of the Battle Destinies with Tarkin. But if I get the second Battle Destiny through, that means he's going to have attrition to satisfy, because Executor will have no immunity, and none of his pilots will have any forfeit. So that's kind of what I'm trying to piece together here, is get past Tarkin and get past the immunity. So it's my deploy phase now. I put Gold Leader out, and he obviously, or I shouldn't say obviously, this is a really good play to put General Veers and Thrawn here to just stop this drain, so he can just absorb my damage. I haven't used Cassian's to game text yet, so this I'll be able to cancel, which I guess I don't do this turn. Again, it's tough decisions here where I have to decide where to battle, where to spend my force. So here we have, this is what I like to say. So Tarn fires it, resets the forfeit of all the characters. Piet, Chernu, Yularen, Mandalay, Tarkin, Callus. That is forfeit 6/6 is 12, plus another 6 is 18, 7 is 25, Chernu is another 6/31. That's 37 forfeit that just went poof. There's actually a deck building challenge by Hollow Theater late in 2020 to reduce the most forfeit possible. So that would have been pretty good. Pretty good number. But now he has command, and then this is where I'm kicking myself that I didn't draw it earlier. And I think I said in the chat at this point, like, because this was like, I thought I had it. I thought I was going to be able to get my 2 Destiny through. But it's interesting in that he played it here, because I could see an argument both ways. If he waited, because right now it still has immunity. I'm not going to draw 6/6. But I can't cancel immunity unless I make Green Leader hit. And once I make it hit, he's gone and not coming back, and I can't use him in a future battle. So if he passed here, I would have had a tough decision of, do I risk him playing the command after I use the Green Leader text to make it hit and cancel the immunity? Because I could do that, then he could play it, and then I'm definitely not kicking him out of space. I'm probably going to have a harder time turning on Meta Spades. Well, I shouldn't say that. I might be able to turn on Meta Spades, but that's kind of a moot point as long as IXP is flipped. So I don't know, but there might have been an argument for him waiting on playing the command, but it's also he's playing it safe. So I draw 4. This thing's still immune less than 12. I didn't use Green Leader's game text, and we tie. So I don't even force battle damage. And the cool thing there is if I drew, so he limited me to 1 and he canceled it. Any Destiny I draw there, if I'm able to get, like, if I'm able to spin and use, like, Green Leader, which is a maneuver 5, that's 5 battle damage he has to lose. Like, he'd be immune, but it wouldn't make any point for him to forfeit any characters because on that forfeit, and he'd have to peel 5 cards. So that's where, when I talked about, a misplay and cycling that all wings, and him obviously being really smart and grabbing that would have come in huge here because Tarkin wouldn't have been able to cancel that, and he would have had to deal with 5 battle damage, and then this game's over, and I'm going to be able to squeeze it out. So now it's his turn, 11, he's going to drain for 1, and then 2 at the beach. And then this again is you have these late game, and I had this match game last night with Greg Shaw in our Coruscant game. Late game move phases is a lot of thinking because you got to kind of anticipate of how much do I got to save, what do I have to anticipate from the return, do I move everybody, do I move some people, what's my opponent going to do after I do this, and it's something that I think that players have been playing a long time. That might be one of the areas they really differentiate themselves is they don't mess up kind of these late game move phase actions, and Justin absolutely does not mess up late game here. So he's able to cover up drains, at the same time balance, make sure he doesn't get overflowed anywhere. It's a fine balance here, late game, and where every move can matter. And then it can also be very time consuming in person or online when you're trying to make these decisions. So this is where the timing comes into play, and this is where I think some people that play decks that involve a lot of late game movement, like Imperial Entanglements is a lot of that. I think Diplo might be a lot of that. And I'm trying to think of other decks that could basically control decks. Like Routes of Operations did it, or used to do it when it was strong, but they also have to move everybody for free. because of that one spaceport site. So I forced a drain, so he was able to run away then. So I didn't pull off the Tarn coup, we'll say. So he's just like, I'm going to move Executor here, not dance around. He doesn't have any cards in hand. He doesn't have another command to kind of bail him out. I shouldn't say bail him out, to protect him from Tarn kind of wrecking stuff. So I battle here. I think this is a misplay. I should have battled at the square. This is another misplay. Like, who cares? He covers up my drain of 1. It's way more important that I get this drain of 3 through as soon as possible. So I could have battled here, canceled his draw, which I'm going to do next turn, and then draw that 5 that I just draw. Yeah. So I'd have power 13. He'd be at 5. Even if he lost Thrawn, he'd have to take 1 overflow, and then he's going to leave Beers out to dry, and I'm not going to lose anybody. So that was a big misplay, I think. I should have definitely battled at the square. I think at one point he might even get another command, but I'm mixing up games. So I kick him out of the vault, but again, like, what's my value there? So I'm still going to battle here and cancel his destiny and say, hey, you got to deal with 3 battle damage. But he's just going to be like, who cares? I'll just lose Beers. Because like, Thrawn is strong enough with 2 power, 7 forfeit. He can cover 9. And he's going to get battle destiny. It's going to be tough for me to overflow him, which I'm unable to do next turn, as we'll see. And now he can gradually go wider. I'm going to land here. So this is where I'm like, I only have 6 cards down. If I don't land Rogue One here, I'm staring at a drain of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Even with Menace Fades on, even with his objective on, it's 5. And that brings me down to 1. And if I only have 1 force, after that, I can't do anything. So I'm basically like, I gotta cover up this drain of 2. So I land all these guys, and that was the best ship to do it. I only had 1 force left. Maybe another reason I should have battled at the vault, because I could have used that extra force then to land one of these other ships for more forfeit fodder, or even shovel was his drone down. So I had more power, forfeit, and just ability to stretch out the game at the beach. So that's where this battle at the vault just didn't make sense. It was way more important to cover up his drain of 2 than kick him off here and maybe start getting my drain of 1 through. And this is just bad news. So then I move in front of Tarkin and Callus. So Tarkin's going to cancel my destiny. Callus is going to add a battle destiny. Some people out there are probably like, why is the evacuation control not the deck? For a while now, I've been running 2 evacuation controls and no idea, like most people do. I think at this point, I didn't, but that would have really come in handy here. Because then, although at the same time, because, the downside of that card is you're taking 4 cards out of your deck. Obviously it's a really strong mechanic, but you're also kind of working with a little less cards throughout the course of the game. But a lot of times that doesn't matter. So I have to lose Tarn here for his forfeit 6. Another reason why Tarn kind of fits in No Idea. No Idea can pull ships, which helps you pull in Rogue One. He's deployed -1 against rebel ships. And he gets the forfeit boost with Insurrection. So he's a forfeit 6. We have a revert here, so he goes to move Executor. But then, as for a revert, and this happened. Oh boy. We got a freeze here. So again, I try to disclaim that this thing's still in beta. Every so often we're going to have stuff like this. Where it freezes, but fortunately we got to just about the end. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just summarize what happens rather than start anything. I think this is frozen. I'd have to restart. Hold on, maybe we might be able to get this to work. I can just zoom right to the end. So if I'm able to do this quickly, I will. If not, we'll call it a day. And I'll just describe what happens. I wonder if the whole program that I'm using is freezing. Uploading. Yeah, I'll just give it like 20 seconds. If you're watching this on a replay, maybe just like FF 15, 15 seconds until we get the action back. Alright, so we're back in here. Another cool thing, even though there's a lot of tabs here, you can jump around pretty quickly. Unfortunately, this one isn't super far away, so we're just going to tab all the way back to July 7th it was. But actually, I mean, it might be a problem just with the replay. This happened once, but then I watched it again to the end. And sometimes that happens with all Gemp, even on the current Gemp interface. If you're watching a replay, reverts sometimes cause it to be buggy. All right, that was there. More. Come on. Two. All right, here's our game. All right, now let's find our spots. That was. And this happens sometimes too if you kind of fast forward through it. I think this is where we were. Let's see if this works. Close the old window just so it's not extra stress. So yeah, he was just about to move the Executor to Scarif. We're getting some crazy animation here. Yeah, okay. So he didn't do that. I think we went a little too far. But let me just pause here. So what happened then was, I don't want to keep jumping around a lot, but he didn't move here. I did my turn. I did, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage to get him down from, I guess, 6 or 7 life force to like 2. Then this is my, then during my move phase, I moved Tantive here just to block the strain because I can't allow him to drain me for 3. But the problem is, and then on my turn I also battled here to kill Thrawn, but he drew just enough to not get overflowed at all. And even if he got overflowed by 1, or maybe I overflowed by 1, but either way I needed to draw higher than that in order to cause some overflow and win the game. So then I moved here out of desperation, thinking maybe I can soak up enough damage, not take any overflow, and then do damage on my turn. But he battles me at the beach, and I am just staring at overflow. Because Luke and Rogue One only cover, I think, 12, and he draws enough, because he cancels my Destiny. Yeah, they only cover 12. So you see how he overflows me there, and I lose by 2. So a really close, fun game. Yeah, usually this matchup's pretty grindy, so if you're not a huge fan of ISB or no idea, I'm not sure if this matchup will convince you to like either of them, but I did think it was a pretty interesting game, good competitive game, and like I said, when you play good players, you take a lot away from them. I think there's like 4 or 5 pointers here and things I learned, and watching on the replay a couple times, I kind of see exactly, hey, don't do that again next turn. But yeah, 13-turn game. I'm going to wrap it up. I'll post this on YouTube. I'll try to put a couple of those links that I talked about at the beginning of the pod in there as well. But thanks for tuning in, or live, or watching it replay. And like I said, StarWarsCCG.org/volunteer if you're looking to kind of step up and perhaps, in 2021, you can get one of these awesome guys for contributions to the community. So thanks again, everyone, and I'll see you next time for episode 7. I've done a bunch this week. I'm not sure exactly the schedule, but as my schedule permits, I'll try to get more and more episodes out. But might be some times where I can't. All right, so thanks again.